All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of the program. Merely Bo, he is the great Z. How you living, buddy?
I'm doing great, brother. Doing great. It's Thursday. Board's fully done. We're ready to roll. I feel like there are some things there are paths to victory in this game, and obviously I think we all kind of go through the weekly, Sunday when it's so disappointing like that. You're down in the dumps on Monday. Tuesday, you're trying to disassociate. By Wednesday, you're like, all right, we have another game and another opportunity. And, by Thursday and into Friday, you're looking for, okay, how can we do this? And how can we have the outcome? So that's where I'm at. So feeling good there. I love the crispness in the air.
Oh, it's crisp.
I like that. But it's still sunny.
Sunny.
You could do anything you want.
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
What do you want to do?
I whipped up a great meal last night, which I'm feeling good about.
What'd you bring to the table?
So I decided last night I wanted to do a shrimp in like a garlic and white wine sauce.
Oh, I love a meal like that.
Yeah, it's great.
That's very good.
Little parsley in there.
Sure,
yeah. Do that.
Get that pop.
I did about
feels clean and fresh when you're eating it.
Yeah,
very
so
light.
I did. Yeah, I had some pancetta. I had the shrimp, obviously, about 2 pounds of shrimp. Had some mushrooms, some peas to finish off. A little squeeze of half of a lemon,
of course,
in there, and then a little chicken broth. A lot of white wine.
Yeah,
cook it down.
That's a delight.
Oh my God, I did about 20 cloves of garlic too.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's all right. Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Oh, gosh, so good. And it felt light, and it was whole wheat, little whole wheat linguine.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's fantastic.
Wash it down with a nice French Malbec. Forget about it.
Yeah, you're winning. You're winning. I have to tell you, I watched the baseball. I wasn't anticipating watching the baseball. I have not watched baseball all summer.
I watched the final 5 innings, and I did not see a lot of offense.
No, I'm not even talking Guardians baseball.
You watched
I just
Lindor?
watched baseball. So it turns out that it worked out pretty good for my television habits.
Okay.
What I mean by that is Top Gun Maverick was on, I think, Paramount or something. And so I was able to bounce between the games and that. And so I saw the end of our game, and then I picked up the Mets about halfway through, and I was kind of watching that. I saw Lindor hit the grand slam.
Was it a walk-off grand slam?
No.
But a grand slam?
No, it got very dicey because then Edwin Diaz came in the 9th, and then he kind of put guys on, and all of a sudden the tying run at the plate, and it's like, what is going on? You're 4-1. Like, go win the damn game.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then the Yankees in Kansas City was pretty thrilling. Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run that ended up being the game winner, not walk-off, but late in the innings, much like Lindor's. And then I watched the Dodgers get off to a fast start. And I do think that it's more baseball I watched yesterday than I have all summer combined. If you were to add it all up, which would be 0, wouldn't take much to beat it.
Same. I got 5 innings yesterday.
I watched nothing except for what I watched yesterday. And I know it didn't go well for our guys. I know they're not scoring runs. I get it.
I'm bummed for them.
It sucks. But there is something to the notion of you got to get 27 outs. And even if you're up 2 runs or 3 runs, so they're saying there's a chance. In football, in other sports, there's a clock, and there are multiple ways. You just mentioned us, multiple paths for us to potentially get a victory in Philly. In baseball, there's only one. You have to get all the outs. You can't squeeze the clock. You can't do any. You can't play keep away. Like
27 batters must be retired.
They have to be retired, and so with that comes a sense of thrill
and tension.
Yeah, and so even though I wasn't invested in terms of any of the teams, I don't really follow any of them. As a kid, I grew up a Dodgers fan. I did find myself kind of locked into it. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
And those
a lot of great matchups too.
And those games. What's fun? Playoff baseball is awesome
because
every pitch matters, and just anybody who goes to the plate in the majors can hit a home run. And it feels like playoff baseball more than any other baseball often comes down to who hits the 3-run homer, who hits, even in a tie game, who hits a solo shot and breaks. So it comes down to those things, and that's very, very fun. It's very captivating. Where baseball is lost to me, and I was super into it as a kid, is just the 162 games, the meaningless nature of any game in isolation out of 162. When they matter, baseball's awesome.
It is. Yeah, it is. And you can't recreate it. I think it's I think that's the biggest step up from the regular season to the postseason of any sport.
Yes.
In terms of the intensity.
Yeah.
That comes with it. Because as to your point, you're playing 162. All right, you lose, so what? We're playing tomorrow. Like, what's the big deal? And I think NBA has some of that because it's best of 7, and because some of these teams, we saw this last year in the NBA playoffs. Like sometimes you just push your chips in and say, all right, we'll see you tomorrow. Like you'd rarely get that in baseball in the postseason.
Right.
The series are so short. It's best of 5 right now.
Right now, yeah.
So it can one game means a great deal, and you don't see people pushing their chips in. It was enjoyable, very enjoyable.
I'm excited to watch tonight. I'll definitely take a gander in that before we tune into the Fighting Pedros and the Seahawk Wave.
Yeah,
which is a lovely Thursday action. It's going to be a beautiful uniform game.
Niners are in their like 94s, right? Like the drop shadows with the white pant, and then the Seahawks are in the bright blue Kelly greens. That's something else there.
I wish that just for one day, like I would do it for free. In fact, I would pay Roger Goodell. I would pay you, a very small amount to set every team's uniforms, and I think I would be regarded with great aplomb by the people around the world.
I would have to be your assistant on that because at times you will go to it. You will lean to the all black.
No,
and you'll sometimes
because that's not anybody's.
I don't love a leotard look, so like
that's not anybody's really.
You and I would have to work on it together on that front.
I accept your invitation.
Yeah, I will help you. You and I can do. You can be the boss. I'll be the underboss.
We can be two equals.
And no, it's fine. It was your idea. I think you take it and run with it.
We can be like Vince Vaughn and Ned in Wedding Crashers.
That's probably one of the great duos of all time.
That's what.
Except you and I won't have the missteps.
No,
we'll just
the 46 long Baba Ganoush special. Just
live our best life. That's all we're gonna do.
Yeah.
No, I think we could. I think you could do it, and I think it would look great. It's gonna look stunning tonight. So that'll be, unfortunately, in my world. So even for you, because you're YouTube TV, right?
Uh-huh.
So how do you navigate from Amazon to YouTube TV?
I'll have 2 TVs.
See, this is what sucks. This is what sucks, though, because you have to have 2 TVs.
Or I can pip.
You can't put. So you can put Amazon Prime app in one.
I can split my TV into 2 screens and put one app in there. One app.
And that's because of YouTube TV or because of the television you
Probably
have?
the TV.
Okay, yeah, that's a good job out of you. Yeah, but I that's why I don't like the apps. I just got the news. I was looking at some of the stuff for, and actually the Guardians had that. Was it yesterday in one of the trade magazines about how they're going to do their own broadcast?
MLB's doing it, right?
Yeah, MLB's going to do it. And they're going to put it on locally and all of that. And I'm like, well, what happens if you're out of market? Like, how do you do it? And you're going to have to, be like a site. You'll have to do it that way on some that type of deal. And that's the thing. And I saw this with Ohio State as well, like on the Peacock. I hate that I'm stuck in these apps.
Yeah.
And you basically have to sit there and watch commercials.
You're a man paying with for the app. Televisions.
I am, but I'm also a man of the common man, and I think of the common man,
and I think of him too. And I
think of my dad on the Ponderosa, and now he's stuck. He's not flipping apps. He doesn't have 2 TVs.
Do you remember the remote? It was like yay big.
Of course, I remember that remote
where you could program everything.
Yes.
But there's a joy in having the back button and going from channel to channel.
Yes,
there's a joy to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a science to it. That's what I did last night with the baseball and with Tom Cruise, with Maverick. I was able to bounce back and forth. No bouncing back and forth here. We'll go to our defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who's at the podium.
Washington game, what did you think?
You're down.
Biggest issues you guys had?
I mean, obviously it was the big plays. We had 7 plays where I think they accounted for about 280 yards of offense. And it sort of erased I think we had 58 plays where we gave up like 2.5 yards of play. That's 2.5 yards of play is like insane defense, but it's offset by those 7 big plays. And, it's the NFL. You're not going to make every one of those 7 plays, but we got to make half of those. If we make half of those, it's a different situation right there. It was an aggressive game plan. I thought the players did a good job with the challenge and everything, but we contained a couple times to our left. We missed some tackles, and when it was all said and done, it negated some really good stuff on film. But that's the NFL.
Martin Emerson said, this is him talking. He said he doesn't think he's playing as well as he did last year. Is that true, and why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I can help him out on on that one play. I mean, it was a 2-minute drive, and if you guys saw what we were doing with some of the substitutions to slow down their tempo when they would sub, but you don't get that right in 2 minutes. And I probably went too many snaps of man-to-man in a row there, and he was gassed, and I was slow to recognize that, and he gave up a touchdown. So I probably put a little bit more of that on me than him. I can change my calls up a little bit there and help him out. He's a competitive guy. What we saw last year, what we saw in training camp this year was not a mirage. I have a lot of confidence in him getting out of that and playing good ball for us down the stretch.
Responsible for 2 of the takeaways. You guys talked about them coming in bunches. I mean, is that something that you guys can build upon after that game, knowing that he was able to put a couple together in just that one game? Yeah,
I mean, obviously the first one overcame that big pass where we ended up losing contain, let the quarterback lose, and then he made a big play down the field. So that was a really big red zone stop. The forced fumble was a big time play, and had the ball on the ground a couple of times. Jeff mentioned MJ. He missed a tackle on that long run. Then he came back, hunted that guy down, and got the ball on the ground. And we didn't recover it, but that ball was on the ground. We had a couple big hits that will end up being incompletions that, had a chance. I mean, they're a whisker away from being catch fumbles. So I was proud of the way we were around the ball. We'll make our share of those, and they are game-changing plays.
How much have they, with the addition of Saquon, how have they kind of incorporated and meshed him and Jalen together in their running game?
Well, Saquon might be playing the best of any running back in the NFL right now. Extremely strong, great vision, jump cut, using the passing game, everything else. And they've had some injuries with their wide receivers, so he's really had to take a load. He's been a marked man in their offense, and he's still averaging 6 yards a carry. So he definitely has our intention. They do add the layer of the quarterback, but they're not afraid just to hand it to him, and it's not super fancy. It's double teams and let him pick his hole, and that playing that part of the game. Now they'll get A.J. Brown back, they'll get Devontae Smith back, not like they've been in the last couple games. So we certainly got playmakers in a lot of different positions. Dallas Goedert is a really good tight end. And again, a little bit like last week, we can't play, really, really good defense for 58 plays and let our guard down for 7 plays, because these guys have 7 guys that can hit home run.
What do you make of Schwartz's turnovers? It's been led the league last year, and he's leading it again.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming in different spots. A couple of them came at the end of games this year. Probably trying to make a play, maybe when it wasn't there. But, that's what playmakers do. They try to make plays. And, I think there's a lot of things that are important to us, some similarities to last week and some things we should learn from last week. But, pressure on the quarterback generally can create mistakes. And then we got to be aggressive going after the ball. So, both of those things will probably play a part in this week.
It's your former team going to their place. How important would it be for you? How good would it feel to go there and get a win?
Yeah, it's been so long. Oh, it really hasn't been that long. It's been 3 years and a couple games. But I was looking at the roster. There's only like 7 or 8 guys left. I mean, you talk about, how things change in the NFL. And that's a team that went to the playoffs all 3 of those years, went to the Super Bowl once. So you talk about like what the changes in the NFL. There's not a lot of people I'll recognize. So it's an important game for us because of what our situation is right now, and it's our next game. It's a road game. A win will go a long way to starting to patch up some of the ills that we've had. So that's the most important thing this week.
Banged up in the secondary right now. Do you feel like you might be able to count on some of those guys this week? Denzel, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, we were that affected the game last week because we're a dime team on a lot of third downs, and we lost Ronnie Hickman and Rodney McLeod. Rodney had to go in and get stitches, and all of a sudden we were out of those packages, and then our corners started dropping. So it was we were working hard the whole game to try to, just sort of jerry rig some of our personnel packages to go. And some of the guys went in. Rodney was able to come back. Rodney played a really good game. It's life in the NFL. Nobody cares. So we got to find a way this week, regardless of who's out there, to be efficient and and accentuate those things we did well for 58 plays and eliminate half of those things that we did poorly.
We'll have Denzel.
Yeah, we'll see when it comes. I'll let Kevin and those guys handle injuries, but I know Denzel's a competitor, and if he can be out there, he'll be out there.
Especially with Brown and Smith, those guys are due to come back this week. What impact do you think that'll have on the game?
Well, both of those guys are really good players. Guys that they traded for, gave up first-round draft picks, or drafted pretty early. Different style players. A.J. Brown's a guy that can take a hitch and go 80 yards because he's so strong. He's really strong down the field on his deep balls. He can body players. He doesn't get knocked off his routes very easily. And Devontae Smith has really great speed. He's a smaller player, but he's got great quickness and great speed. So, I'd probably put Dallas Goedert in there. Goddard in the last couple of games was seeing all the double teams, showed where they were with wide receivers. But we have confidence in our guys, regardless of who's out there. But they do have a great challenge this week.
What do you make of Hurts? I know you weren't there when they were in the last Super Bowl, but he outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl. And since then, it's been a little different quarterback. What do you see out of him?
Yeah, he was a rookie. He was there 1 year when I was in Philly. And I just know this. He's a tremendous competitor. He's a really, really hard-working guy and does a good job with leadership, and the players sort of gravitate to him. And he has really good mobility. So those are the things that get our attention. I know this. In 7-on-7, he throws about as pretty a ball as you can imagine. It's classic. Just looks beautiful when he throws. So our whole objective is don't make it 7-on-7. Our pass rush has to do their job. Our blitz package has to do their job. Our coverage disruption has to do their job. So it's not just routes on air, because I've seen that in person, and it's pretty impressive.
Lost 3 in a row. How do you keep that from getting even worse? Kind of stop the damage.
Yeah, you have to just focus on, what's important right now, and you can't do anything about the past. You guys know my baseball analogies. The Mets were about the worst team in National League in the middle of June. Their best player stunk. He's batting 200, and it was all the same stuff. The owner meddled too much, and they were the highest payroll, and they had a lot of turmoil, and they just went and beat the Phillies, and they changed all of that. And the little bit that I know, I don't know, you guys know probably Lindor a lot better, but just like listening to different people and stuff, like they never lost their confidence, and they were very intentional about their culture. At least, again, I don't know that firsthand, but from what you hear, they were very intentional about that culture. And that's a tough one to survive, right? It's June, high expectations, highest payroll in baseball, all that different stuff, and you're playing terrible. They had lost, I think it was 20 of 26 games or something like that. It couldn't have looked any worse, but, they were able to find a way out with some intentionality, and, and their best players started playing their best, and when it came to playoffs and they're down 1-0, Lindor hits the grand slam, and they're going to the division championship series or whatever it's called now. So I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned and stuff like that. Sports are awesome that way when it comes to things that come up, and rewarding perseverance, rewarding intentionality, rewarding culture, rewarding people. With track records coming out of things, and avoiding overreaction. I think there's stuff we can learn quite across the board. Anybody that's been in the NFL has been in situations like that where you're not playing your best, whether it's early in the season, middle of the season, whatever it is. I think if I remember right, Pittsburgh, one year they won the Super Bowl. I think they had 3-game losing streaks in one of those years. You guys have to check that math. That might be another thing I made up in my head. But yeah, I'm trying to. I think it was like late 2000 or whatever it was. But you're going to have tough times. It's not all shits and giggles. It's not all unicorns and rainbows and everything else. And those tough times and persevering through those tough times is where you get your medal and what defines you as a team. And when we get out of this, we'll be battle tested, and I think we'll be stronger for it. Okay.
All right, there you go. Jim Schwartz at the podium. The podium presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. A couple of things from us. The Browns hit the practice field today in about 15 minutes from now. They've signed Tony Fields to the active roster from the practice squad, have signed Blake Whiteheart, Javian Cohen, and Sam Kamara back to the practice squad. From an Eagles perspective, remember they're coming off the bye. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, they are both full participants in practice yesterday. The only Eagles player who was not a full participant was linebacker Nakobe Dean. He was limited. That's it. That's the list, according to the notes from the G-Man.
So I'm pretty sure we signed Tony Brown to the active roster, not Tony Fields.
Not Tony Fields.
Cornerback Tony Brown.
There you go. Tony Brown. Not Tony.
That was new because they didn't even open. Tony Fields' practice window hasn't been opened yet.
He's still there, yeah.
Mahmoud Diabate's practice window was open, but not yet Tony Fields. So, yeah, Tony Brown's back to the active roster because they'd used his elevations, and so to keep him on the roster and keep him in, he's been a special team stud. They needed to activate him, so that's why I got so many blanks on here because I know.
Look at the boards. You got some blanks still, buddy.
Yeah. Well, we got Tony Brown in here.
Now he's in the mix. That's what you're getting here, kid. If you watch us on the YouTube, you get a live board fill.
There it is.
Live board
Tony
fill
Brown.
out of the Dr. Z.
Live filling.
Those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Incredible devastation throughout Florida.
Sad, scary.
Just so sad and scary. It's now twice in 3 weeks when they've just been bombed. You see the roof of the baseball stadium gets taken off. Just incredible devastation. I don't know where you go if you're down there. I know there's so many Ohio expats in that part of Florida, that southwestern part of Florida, that Sarasota area, which was kind of the direct hit of it. But throughout the state, a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people who go down there. And you think about the first responders, you think about the Red Cross and the ways to help. That would be the way to help. I just can't even. A buddy of mine was here last Friday. He in the Tampa area, lost his home, lost everything. I can't remember if I told this or not, but he was in his home, watching the water raise. It was only supposed to go this far, and he would took a pencil, and he wrote a marker, and he's like, if it goes higher than this, then I got to get the hell out of here. It went higher than that. He's standing on his counter, on his kitchen counter, watching his belongings start to get pulled in. The television slams into the water. All of this stuff has to swim out of a window to get out of his house, swims across the street to his neighbors. Everything's lost. All of it's lost. And that was 3 weeks ago. That wasn't even this one. So it's just
brutal.
Yeah, it is. And I can't imagine the folks down there, and what a mess to begin to even clean. I don't know how do you even dig out of it. I don't. Starting over is what you're doing more than anything else. So certainly thinking of all of those people down in the Sunshine State. It is a matchup day. We will hit the Browns defense versus the Eagles offense coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Valley Bet, sports betting partner your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And now's your chance to be inches away from your favorite players. They take on some of the big opponents this season. Field seats, Huntington Bank Field, put you up close and personal with the thrill of the game. Limited quantities are available, so get them before they're gone. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/field seats to secure your spot right now. Time for the matchup. You heard from defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz there momentarily. And now the matchup, our defense versus that Eagles offense. And for that and the specifics, we turn it over to only one man who can handle the task. He is Dr. Z.
Before we get into this matchup, college football, Nate, breaking news, Oklahoma's leading wide receiver, Deion Burks, not expected to play against Texas this weekend. He had been leading Oklahoma in receptions and yards. He was listed as questionable, but he will be out. That's a big one. All right.
Texas without their Oklahoma without their top 4 or 5 receivers now for that game. So if you can, if you are someone who has any soft earned that you want to maybe have a little fun with before that line changes, run and take advantage.
Nate bombs. It certainly caught CFN's attention.
Certainly does.
All right. The Eagles on offense. They are the number 5 rushing attack in the league, 154 yards per game, 5.1 yards per carry. That's significant. Why? The Browns have given up over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing in each of their last 2 games. They are the number 8 total offense this season, number 9 in first downs per game, 21, 10th in time of possession, 13th on third downs, but they have struggled in the red zone, 21st right now in the red zone so far this year. Now, they've been sacked 13 times. Remember, these are all 4-game stats for them. They've had their bye. 6 of them came in that game their last time out against Tampa Bay. That's the most that Jalen Hurts has been sacked in a game since the 2020 season. Hurts this year is averaging his lowest yards per game and his lowest yards per game, and has the lowest rating and lowest touchdown to interception ratio as a starter, but it's his highest completion percentage, 68%, so that's interesting. Where's he struggling? He is turning the football over as Jalen Hurts. 27 giveaways since the start of the 2023 season. That's most in the NFL. 7 in 4 games in 2024. Second behind only Will Levis. He's got a giveaway in 9 straight games, the second longest active streak in the NFL. Do you know who has the longest active streak in the NFL with a giveaway in 10 straight games?
The way you phrased it leads me to believe that it's somebody that I would not anticipate. Josh Allen.
Incorrect. Would you like another guess, or do you want to give Gibbe? And where's the G-Man? G-Man might have a nice guess. He's not back there. We can give Gibbe a guess.
I'm working on our internet issues.
It's fine. We don't need the internet.
Who needs it?
Give me a hint.
Some would say that he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Mahomes has turned it over in 10 straight.
According to NFL research, Hurts has a giveaway in 9 straight games, second longest active streak in the NFL behind Mahomes with 10.
Wild,
wacky stuff.
So he's fumbling a lot because I think he's thrown 4 picks on the year. Mahomes has, so he must be
maybe even
6. Is it that many? Hurts has got 4.
Hurts has 4 in 4 games, and Hurts has fumbled 3 times.
Yeah.
Well, he's lost 3 fumbles. Hurts has fumbled 5 times. He's lost 3. Mahomes has 6 picks this year.
Jeez.
He's got 6 picks, and he has, let me see his fumbles and fumbles lost. No fumbles at all yet. No fumbles lost this season, but 6 picks. So, yeah, he's starting to pick, obviously, in every single game this year. Incredibly talented offense, though. Jalen Hurts' numbers you have to take with some type of a grain of salt. Number 1, he's going to hurt you running the football. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns already this year, 10 or more rushing touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons, 36 and 19 as a starter. But they're getting healthy. Devontae Smith, healthy. He's been out since week 3 with a concussion, 21, 239, and a touchdown. He's one of 2 receivers in the league to have at least 7 catches in every game, only he and Malik Neighbors, and he's got 7 catches and 75 yards in all 3 games he played in. A.J. Brown, who was their leading receiver, back-to-back seasons of over 1,400 yards with the Eagles, the 3-time Pro Bowler, he had 5 for 119 and a touchdown in week 1, has not played since then. He will be back. Dallas Goedert, 24 catches, 301 yards. He averages more catches per game, 6, and more yards per game, 75.25, than any tight end in the NFL. Now, part of that is he's been
only guy
carrying. Yeah, right. He's been the primary target for them with everybody out. But he also had a 61-yard reception this year, which was the longest of his career. So maybe he's getting younger. Benjamin Button. Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley has 100 or more total yards in every game this season. He is leading the NFL, averaging 130 total yards per game. He's second in the NFL, 109 yards rushing per game. He's got 80 or more rushing yards and 100 or more total yards in every game. In fact, he's one of 3 players since 2018 with 80 or more rushing yards in each of the first 4 games of the season. Can you name the other 2 who have done that? Bo.
No.
Christian McCaffrey, last year. Nick Chubb, twice, 21 and 22.
Let's go.
Boy, do we miss that guy.
Nick Chubb.
He's got 2 games already of 100 yards rushing and 2 or more touchdowns. He had no games like that in 20, 21, 22, or 23. So he is off to a very, very good start. So good offense, very talented offensive line as well. Lane Johnson, the 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, has not allowed a pressure all year. He was out last week. How much better is he than his replacement, Fred Johnson? Well, Fred Johnson gave up 2 sacks and 11 pressures in the game that he started for Lane Johnson. So how much better? Significantly. Left tackle is the behemoth, Jordan Mailata, 6'8", 365. They've got 2-time Pro Bowl left guard, Landon Dickerson. Cam Jurgens is now the center with Jason Kelce retiring. And then former first-round pick of Louisville, Mekhi Becton, is their right guard. So they
moved him to right guard.
So their line goes 6'8", 365, left guard 6'6", 332, right guard 6'7", 363, right tackle 6'6", 325,
Whoa.
and then Cam Jurgens is 6'3", 303 at the center position. Their backup center 6'5", 312, by the way. I mean, they have
That's enormous.
beef up front. So they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. They can throw it vertically with Smith and A.J. Brown. They've got Goddard. They can run it. Hurts can run it. It's a good offense. They have struggled because of the giveaways, and that's what the Browns have to capitalize on, those turnovers. For the Browns, it's been a struggle lately to stop the run. Over 150 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns each of the last 2 on the season, 141.6 yards per game. That's 25th in the NFL. 8 rushing touchdowns. That's the second most in the NFL. And then, as you heard Jim Schwartz talk about, it's the big plays that have been a problem for this defense. Against Washington, for example, 7 plays accounted for 280 yards in that game. So are we healthy? We have no idea what we're trotting out there in the secondary. You know, if you don't have Denzel Ward, this is not a great game to be without Denzel. But if you don't have Denzel Ward,
Delpit was banged up too.
Delpit's
yesterday.
banged
We'll
up.
see.
Hickman's banged up. Thornhill's on IR. Not ideal is what I would say on the defensive side of the ball. So you are banged up. Hopefully you'll get Jordan Hicks back. That would be, I think, very important to get him back. Za'Darius has 3 sacks. Miles has 4 sacks. They're playing well. But it's really that back end that I think is going to be very, very tested in this game against them. And also you hope to get, you hope to get a Mike Hall back, and maybe he can make an immediate impact for the Cleveland Browns in passing situations with his speed and his ability to rush the passer. So something to keep an eye on there. Hopeful on Denzel Ward right now, I think, is the feeling in the building. Hopeful. Because you're going to need all hands on deck against a very, very talented offense. If, for example, you didn't have Delpit and Hickman, you'd be down to really 2 safeties. They'd probably, my guess, elevate then Chris Edmonds from the practice squad, and you'd be starting McLeod and DeAnthony Bell, with Rodney having to play, one of those two having to play kind of more of a free safety, which is not something either one of them have done. McLeod did that, though, in 22 with Indianapolis. He was like a full-time free safety, but that 2 years ago. But that will be interesting to see how that evolves this week. But hopeful you'll get Denzel. Hopefully he's able to do some work on the field today, and that make you feel a lot better about his availability in this game.
This ain't who you want to play coming off of the performances that you've played and them coming off a bye week and being healthy. This is the healthiest they've been all season is in this game. They are rested. They are ready. All of those things, all of those boxes check. And to further buttress your point about how this is starting to get a little bit overwhelming. When this score was first dropped on Sunday, it was 8.5. It is currently, as I'm looking at it right now, 10.
I thought it even opened at 5.5.
5.5 when we were on the plane.
Oh, when you guys are on the plane. When I heard guess the lines from the Cuz, it was 8.5. So by Sunday night, it was 8.5. So it went 5.5, 8.5, now 10 is where you stand right now.
All right,
I think it's the biggest one of the week.
I'm going to see
which you would never have forecasted.
No, CBS says that it opened. CBS says that it opened at 3.
Really?
And is
I
now
never saw it ever
9.5.
Yeah, I heard you guys heard 5.5 on the plane. I heard 8.5 with Cuz and Bill. And then when we did it, it was 9. I think yesterday it was 9 and
9.
now 10. 10 on
most
on
games
the
move a point or two based
not
on what
6.
they open at. Not
7 points.
7
Like,
points.
you just don't see that. So look, it's uphill sledding, and our injury stuff only makes it more difficult. They're healthy. The one thing is the Hurts part of it is fascinating to me because obviously they are committed to him long term. It does seem like since they got off the fast start last year, there's been a little bit that's been figured out between him and their offense. But again, this will be the first time really all season that they've been completely healthy. So you'll get a decent look of that, unfortunately for us, on Sunday in Philly. We'll go around the league coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Howard Hanna, the official real estate provider of your Cleveland Browns. When it comes to buying or selling, you need a reliable team to guide you through the process. As the market leaders in Northeast Ohio, more buyers and sellers trust Howard Hanna to be their home team. Save time and money. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today for more. A little story time. I'll give you a little story time.
I love story
This
time.
was this would have been, I would say, my dad was visiting. This would have been, Beamsy would have been within his first 6 months of life. So this would have been winter of 13 into 14. We were in Dublin at the time, and NBC would have been 2 about 10 years ago. So NBC would have been 2, and Beamsy was a newborn, and we had just gotten Beamsy to bed.
Okay.
And there was a rustling outside and a knock at the door. And so my wife went and opened the door, and there was nobody there. Okay. Fair enough. Know what this is. Okay. So next time down, they ring the doorbell. Ding, 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 ding. Take off running. No one there. So they're doing the ding-dong ditch thing. And anyone who has a young child knows that when you have a baby and you get him to sleep, you walk around the house like a ninja.
That's assault, brother.
Let's meet. That's it. I mean, you don't.
That's the operation.
That's it. You will go to the far reaches of a home in a corner in the dark to share a glass of wine versus risking waking the child.
100%.
I do that when the grandbaby sleeps over.
See?
Grandbaby
Same.
goes down, and I'm like, I swear to, I take the dogs. I'm like, you're in the garage.
Go.
Because I do not need you barking
Nope.
with the FedEx or the Amazon packages
Dude, you
that come
will
every day.
sprint to the door to intercept a delivery.
Yes.
If they're
Don't
napping.
even ring
Like,
the doorbell.
No, don't. Nothing.
Don't ring the doorbell. We don't need it.
So
Let the microwave go off.
Nothing. So my dad was there, and he was in his mid-60s at that time, and I said, should we do something about it? And he goes, yeah. So an
alliance is struck.
we get in black gear. I put on a stocking cap. My dad's in his cowboy boots, and this is a suburban neighborhood, and we go out in the yard, and we hide behind some bushes and trees. And sure enough, I see the perps, and they're trying to canvass the neighborhood. I would say they're between the ages of 12 and 13, something like that. And so they're walking through the neighborhood, and they're really bozos because they have their phones, and their phones, have a screen, so you see it in their shorts. So you see it there. So they had hit us a couple of times, and they weren't going to come back through that. But what I noticed that they were doing is they were going to walk through our yard to get to the other side of the neighborhood. They were going to try to go in between. And I make the signal to my dad. I'm like, they're coming. So he's poised. I'm poised. They come through, and the kid gets from me to the television screen, which is 10 feet, and I stand up and scream. They scatter like they're screaming. They're panicked, all of it. My father chased one of them in his cowboy boots down the street. The kid is screaming the whole time. All I see is my dad, bat out of hell, sprinting out the back of the yard,
taking it a lot more seriously.
He's on it, like he's wrestling a cow all of a sudden. So I grab one of them. The kid is like in tears. He's screaming, all of this stuff. He goes, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Batman."
I'm Batman. I knew it.
I said, "I'm Batman, baby." And he goes, "What are you doing? What do you want?" I said, "You're on my property, dude." I said, "Second of all, I recognize you. You live 2 doors down. I know exactly who you are. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. If you're going to do this, which everybody at your age does, dress a little smarter. Don't wear light colors. Yeah. Don't be checking your phone in the pockets of your shorts as you're trying to canvass houses." I said, the second thing I would say is, don't do it on your home turf. Take this to the neighborhood down the street. Don't go where we all know who you are, you bozos. Everybody here knows who you are. Go do it somewhere else. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It won't happen again. Won't happen again. And it didn't.
Did you walk him? Did you escort him to his?
I did.
I
walked him through the. No, I walked him through the yard, and I said, "Go over there. Go over there. Have your fun in that neighborhood, not here." So we get back in, and we were laughing about it. And I hadn't thought about that until last night. NBC and his bozo buddies were at our house last night, and they kept leaving. They kept leaving the house. And I'm like, what is going on? And where I am, it's like, this is Boston Heights, man. Like, you might get shot. Like, you can't walk on somebody's property. First of all, if on the Ponderosa, my dad would absolutely shoot a gun in the air. I'm not saying he's going to kill a kid, although I'm not saying he wouldn't. But he definitely would shoot a gun in the air if he saw somebody on the property that he did not know, uninvited in the middle of the night. So, like, come on, let's use our heads. So my neighbor, Doc Meyer, sent me a photo, goes, you recognize these guys? And sure enough, it was these idiots. Now,
so what were they doing?
They were doing it.
Ringing doorbells?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't they know there's like
that's what I told him. I go, this is a failure of an intelligence test. I understand the thrill of it.
It's a bygone era, but it's a different era. Everybody's got cameras on their doors.
Apparently, they're at the age when they're doing it. I said, you guys are not thinking this through. You're dressed
and they're doing
in
it in your neighborhood, which is what?
Which I said, don't do it in our neighborhood.
Isn't
so they didn't
8
do it.
houses on one street?
That's right. So they didn't. Apparently, they didn't do it in our neighborhood, but Doc Meyer picked up on his ring cam. He saw a pic of them like walking in the street. He goes, "You recognize these guys?" Yeah, I do. I know those idiots. So then I had to give them the same talk. Like, you got to do it in a neighborhood. You can't do it in rural places. You've got to be smarter with how you're doing it.
I'm with Z. I don't think you could do it anymore.
I think you could.
It's a bygone era.
I think you can. I think you have to be disguised a little bit. And again, you got to do it. No one's going to call the cops on the one time or whatever. Like, just be smart a little bit. Don't be vandals. And then you just got to do it in a neighborhood that's not your own. And then I think you probably can do it a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Don't do it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't do it if in your own neighborhood. I mean, it's hijinks, what adolescent boys do. I did it for sure. The risks were bigger where I did it, but it was
the only thing I ever did once was, and it was for part of for the swim team. We would like TP somebody's house.
Yeah,
I did that once, but like I was under such a yoke that I could not be involved in any shenanigans.
No shenanigans. No.
And by the way, my neighborhood growing up, like, first of all, there are so many houses on the block, and so many doors that had you could easily not come back.
Come home?
Yeah, you might not come home.
Yeah. My one neighbor kind of across the way is like Scottish military, and I'm like, if you idiots walk on his property, first of all, I'm sure he's got animal traps. Like, I'm sure he would shoot you.
Yeah.
If he saw you. Like,
yeah.
This ain't it, man. Idiots. All right, around the league. Spencer Rattler is going to start Sunday for the Saints as they place quarterback Derek Carr. He's down with a strained oblique, so Spencer Rattler will get
So it's going to happen.
That line has not moved, by the way.
No.
I saw it. It's still the same as it was yesterday. So there you go on that. ESPN has signed Cameron Newton to be a primary commentator on First Take.
What are you doing?
I don't know if I haven't heard him do anything. I had somebody this morning tell me that he's really popular in like the podcast world.
He is.
So I don't know, like, would he have strong, I'm curious, like, will he go at Stephen A? Will he have opposing views?
Here's the problem.
What will that look like?
The podcasts that I've heard,
okay,
he will have to clean up the language.
Significantly.
Oh, there's a lot of that?
Uh-huh.
Well, every time I've seen him since he retired, he's been woofing at, like, kids playing flag football. Or like those, because he's got, like, one of those AAU football teams. Like Ted Ginn Jr. has one, where they go around and they play all over the country, and then they prepare them for high school or whatever.
Yep.
So I've seen him do that. And like Travis Hunter, the Colorado star, would not give him the time of day.
I noticed that.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they were
none. So it seems like there's some bad blood there with all of it.
And Jordan reminded me, Sanders was the same way.
Oh yeah, Shador was the same way.
Yeah.
So
was
they
like,
must.
Hey, dude, stay over there.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild for a college kid. Like, it's Cam Newton.
But remember, those kids were running smack to him. Remember that kid was running smack to him at that youth camp thing he was doing. That was a couple of years ago, and I'm like, why are you talking smack to Cam Newton?
Listen, you know why I think that happened?
Why?
Because there's been a precedent there. Talking smack to Cam Newton, it was normalized in an advertisement those many years ago. I think it was for maybe Play 60 or something like that, and that little blonde kid trash talks Cam Newton at the end of it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I think he's one of the more formidable humans that's ever played in the National Football League.
He's won the Heisman, right?
Yeah, he's probably him and Joe Burrow had the best single season in the history of college football. National championship and Heisman at Auburn.
He was an MVP in the league.
Yeah, led a team to a Super Bowl. Yeah, we all know he was a dude.
Oh my
Not
God.
only that, but just like physically, he's huge. You don't realize how big he is.
Do you remember Gibbe 2014?
I just was thinking
we went
about
there, and I remember I was telling Gibbe pregame because I walked by him and Greg Olson. Greg Olson
he's
is a
huge too.
big dude, and I'm like, we're going to get destroyed. Johnny started that game
I
and hurt himself on a quarterback sweep, pulled
God.
like a quad or something. And it actually ended up being closer than it probably should have been, but we were never actually in danger of winning that game.
Casey Koulis, our longtime sideline engineer before Clay, Captain Positivity was like, we're winning this week. I feel confident.
Yeah.
And he's doing, on game day, he's got the mic and he's doing a test. He's walking the field. So we know where the mic might work, where there's some shortcomings, whatever the case. He happens to be walking by the Panthers tunnel when Cam comes out. And he's talking and he stops and Cam walks by and they nod to one another and Casey just goes, we're screwed.
So
we're done. I cleaned it up, but it was we're not winning today, kids.
Somehow we only lost that game 17-13.
Correct.
Cam 18-31, 201 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, ran 12 times for 63 and a touchdown. Jonathan Stewart ran 24 times for 122 and caught a touchdown. Our leading receiver in that game, Manziel started, went 3 of 8 for 32 yards and 2 rushes for 3 yards before getting hurt. Hoyer came in, went 7 of 13 for 130, a touchdown and interception, was sacked 3 times. Crow was our leading rusher, 16 for 55. Leading receiver was Jordan Cameron, 3 for 88 and a touchdown. Yeah, and we lost the game. I'm pretty sure Billy Wynn, there was a big guy interception in the game. Billy Wynn had an interception.
Uncle
Bronco
when
Bill.
the game was hanging in the balance, Cam Newton just said, I'm just going to go win this.
Yeah.
And there was nothing we were doing to stop it.
One of those guys, he took somebody was just talking about this. Oh, it was Greg Olson was talking about it just last week. Because was Greg on our call?
He was.
He was. So he was in our game, and he was telling stories about Cam, and they were trying to talk about
Jaden Daniels.
about Watson. Actually, it was Watson. And he said that Cam, in the first series, called quarterback runs. That he wanted the quarterback runs in the first series because he wanted to get hit. Like that was part of it. He wanted to inflict pain. He wanted to get hit. And so they would do a heavy dose of those early in the game, which I thought was fascinating. But I think that's what happened to Cam. Like he just got beat up, and then once he lost his zip on the fastball, throwing it with the shoulder, like that was it. It was done. And it was sad seeing him in New England and that second time through in Carolina. It was just sad but he's still a young dude. I mean, he can't be. He's got to be early 30s, right? 33, 34, maybe 35. I mean, he won the Heisman at Auburn in 10 or 11.
I bet he is. I bet north of 35.
He's 35.
Yeah.
35. 35 and 152 days. So closer to 35 than 36. May 11th. 1989.
God.
He's just a
wee lad.
A hair younger.
7th grader living my best life.
Just a hair younger than my bride.
What a flex. Leaf Filter, the official gutter guard of the Cleveland Browns. Go to leaffilter.com/GoBrowns to schedule your free gutter inspection and to receive your exclusive promo offer. That's leaffilter.com/GoBrowns today, and check that out. We'll do the other side of the matchup, our offense versus the Eagles' defense. You'll also hear from Joel Bitonio coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Boost your game day this season with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet at $25 or more. You get $150 back in bonus bets. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Back on the practice field today, David Njoku, Myles Garrett, Dante Foreman, all back.
All right. What about Denzel?
I don't see anything on that yet.
Let me take a look here on the Twitter machine.
I mean, Schwartz felt confident when in his presser today that he thought Denzel would play and be available.
All right, so that's good. Grant Delpit, Denzel Ward, Ronnie Hickman, Ethan Posick, James Hudson not practicing.
And on that note, what do I know?
No,
this isn't a practice. It's tomorrow.
He needs to practice tomorrow.
Yeah,
if he's going to play, he needs to practice tomorrow. You've got a situation here where I still think there's some tinkering of the roster that needs to happen, right? If you're going to bring Mo Hurst back or Mike Hall back, that's a spot. If you were going to bring a linebacker back, you might need to make a move there and add for
Have we gotten any clarity on Mike Hall? Do we have to,
Notice he was just suspended, and now his suspension's over, So
does that mean he's just automatically back up?
But he's not on the roster. I think I think there would have to be a transaction where we add him to the roster.
Correct.
I agree with that.
Nothing's been explained to us on that.
No, but ultimately you would need a transaction to put him on the roster. That is a fact. That's a fact.
Well, we'll see where all of that shakes out. In the meantime, time for the matchup, and it is our offense versus the Eagles' defense. And for that, we go to Dr. Z.
Folks.
It's a long sigh before that, brother.
Folks, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just going to give you some facts, and then I'm going to tell you why maybe this week it could be a little better. Browns offense, points per game, 15.8, 30th. Total yards per game, 239.4. Unfortunately, that is dead last. Passing yards per game, 142.8. That is 30th. 3.8 yards per play. That is dead last. 18.2% conversions on third down. That's dead last. Sacks, 26. That's dead last. The Browns are now just the fourth team in the last 15 seasons with 25 or more sacks allowed through 5 games. The Browns have allowed 59 quarterback hits. That's the most ever since that has been tracked as a stat in the year 2000 through 5 games. The Browns have allowed 90 pressures. You guessed it, dead last. Eagles, 24 points per game. So almost, 8 more than the Browns are scoring, 22nd. Eagles, 366 total yards allowed per game, 27th. They are allowing 6 yards per play. That is 30th. They have only 1.5 sacks per game. That is 29th. They have only 3.25 quarterback hits per game. That's 30th. So perhaps there's some help there. All right, what are you going to see? Vic Fangio defense. They do a lot of things up front, a lot of things on the back end. They will play with the middle of the field closed more often than open, and they play a cover 3, but they actually play more cover 3 seam than any team in the league. What does that mean? That means if you think about outside receiver number 1, inside number 2, and then if you had 3 on one side, 3 would be inside. If 2 or 3 run verticals, they will carry those verticals. So it becomes kind of a combination of a match and a zone. If 2 runs a vertical route, they carry that route, and so that almost becomes a man on the nickel, and then you're playing zone everywhere else. So Browns know that. They're going to have to be able to attack that. Now, you can run some clear-out routes, and that should create space where that player vacated in the underneath zone. They also blitz cover 0, all-out blitz 11% of the time. That is the most in the NFL, but they have allowed 4 touchdowns in those cover 0. So if the Browns can pick it up, there are opportunities to make plays. They don't blitz a ton, currently 24th in the league. They will blitz more than that against us. They don't stunt a ton. They will stunt more than that against us. They live in sub-package, 80% nickel and dime, and so that's who they are defensively. As it has been the case in recent memory, Browns are playing a team with a big, big front. 6'6", 336 Jordan Davis out of Georgia, first rounder in 22. First rounder in 23 was Jalen Carter, 6'3", 314, also out of Georgia. So they've got big guys up front, and then they can rush the passer. Josh Sweat has been to the Pro Bowl. He's got a career-high 11 sacks in 2022, 6 or more sacks in 4 straight seasons. They've got Nolan Smith, their first-round pick, also out of Georgia from 2023. He can get after the quarterback. And then on the other side, Bryce Huff does not have a sack yet, was coming off a career-high 10 sacks in 23 with the Jets, got paid, has not done anything. But they also have Brandon Graham, who's about to become the first Eagle ever to play 200 games with the franchise.
Really?
Yeah. How about that?
He's been around.
74.5 career sacks. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been an All-Pro, all of it. So that's them. Second level, Zach Bond. This is his first season as a starter. He's already got 43 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for a loss. Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. There's a lot of guys from Georgia on this team. He's got 26 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He was hurt last year, and they like what they've seen there. Back end, this is where maybe you can get after this team a little bit. Darius Slay on one side. Obviously, he's very good. 6-time Pro Bowler, 5 straight Pro Bowls. He's got a pass defense so far. Their interceptions have come from safety Reed Blankenship. He's got both of the team's interceptions. He and C.J. Gardner-Johnson have struggled in coverage a little bit. Quinyon Mitchell has been great in coverage, 6 passes defense. That is their rookie first-rounder this year out of Toledo. And then the other corner they've been playing, Tristan McCollum has played some. Avante Maddox has played some as well. He's doing pretty well, but he's a little smaller, 5'9". Their corners are 6 foot, 5'9". So perhaps there's an opportunity to play some of that tall ball against them in this game. But that's who they are on D. We talked about who the Browns are on offense. Deshaun Watson in this offense. Still no games with 300 yards, no games with 20 or more passing yards, no games with 20 points, which is a bummer. And there are only 3 teams, I think, in the last 5 years that have not had 20 points in a game in the first 5 weeks. Hopefully you're going to get healthier on the line. Perhaps you get guys, who have started a lot more, give DeJuan Jones a chance to kind of recover a little bit there. Jack Conklin could be back. He's at practice. Michael Dunn is at practice. But, right now you'd probably expect Jed, Joel, Posick, potentially Zinter or Dunn there, and then DeWand or Conklin at right. So potentially you can get a chance to get healthier there. But you just got to be better. We've got to be better in every possible respect. It's good news that David Njoku's back. That is very helpful. But we just have to be better. We've struggled. Their secondary is the weakness right now. I talked about it. 237 yards, 7 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks. That's where the Browns have to get out of them. They're also giving up 5.1 yards per carry to running backs on designed runs. So hopefully we can do something there. It'd be great to see number 24. I'm not sure that's going to happen this week.
For Nick, it's just so the audience understands, he has to be active next week, not like
must be
in order to play the rest at any point, or else he's done for the year. So he has to be active. It doesn't mean he has to play, but he's got to be on the active roster.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. He could be on the active roster, but then inactive for the game.
Yeah. Gibbe. Joel Bitonio. Do we have Mr. Bitonio? We do. All right. Very
we
good.
sure do.
All right. Here is Joel Bitonio. Let's have a listen.
Very gruesome, but Jack had a pretty serious knee.
Joel, you've been in.
Apologies, the Gold Wave program was not working properly in that moment.
Reason for optimism with as many games as you have left.
Yeah, we are.
You're down and we're running.
We understand, where we were last year, where we've been before with this team. We got to find a way to win a game. That's really where it's at, and then find a way to win the next one. There's definitely urgency. Like, I'm not going to say panic, but we're urgent. We want to be urgent. We need to be as urgent as possible because it's a big game for us. But the guys, I think, understand like what situation we're in. But I do think there is optimism that we can turn this thing around.
Why do you think it's been so hard to kind of find whatever the sweet spot is for this offense? I know you've had a lot of moving parts, et cetera, but what would you say?
Yeah, truthfully, it comes down to execution. Like, you watch the film and you see, too many MAs, and it's not just one position group. Like, one time it's like the line, blowing a block. The next time it's, the receivers running the wrong route or dropping a pass, and then the next time it's, the quarterback missing one, and it just all adds up, and it's frustrating. So it comes down to executing, and it comes down to just playing one play at a time, and truthfully, no one has to do much. We just have to do our job.
When there's so many, you point out those things, and just from the outside looking in, it's also easy to see. So where do you begin when it's it's not just one thing that you can say, hey, we tighten this, we're in good shape. It feels like there's a lot of things that have to be tightened up.
Yeah, I think it's the accountability on each person. We've talked about it, and that's the frustrating part. Is like you talk about it, and it's like actions have to happen eventually. You have to eventually do, but each room, each person is responsible, and we talk about in the O-line room, like you got to take care of yourself before you can start helping other people. So make sure you're right in your book, and then you can help the guy next to you on the left and the right. And a lot of it is a group sport, especially 5 linemen. But it's truthfully like looking yourself in the mirror and being like, what can I do right to make sure that I'm locked in. I know all my assignments. I know what I'm supposed to do, and then going out eventually like walking the guy in front of you.
Cooper mentioned that some of the offensive guys had conversations with the coaches this week to try to help the offensive conversation that went beyond just regular interaction during the linemen involved in those two. Is that a senior meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Coop's had his talks. I've talked to Coach Stefanski throughout the season. There wasn't like a special group meetup or anything this week that I know of.
Could have been a position meeting.
Yeah, correct.
So what do you make of all of the calls for Deshaun Watson's benching this week every time you turn on the radio or the TV or wherever you go?
Yeah, I think we have to be able to put him in a position to be successful. Like I've talked about it before. Like the O-line has to play a perfect game before we can be like, hey, we gotta fix something else. Like we have to give him a chance. We have to block good enough. We have to play good enough as an offense, less MAs. Before we get into pointing fingers at other people.
So I know this would be your 150th game coming up on Sunday. Just knowing how much it means to you guys as an O-line and you personally to be available. Just kind of your thoughts on that milestone.
Yeah, Dan let me know about that this morning, so he's on top of it. 150th start here, and you look at the names that are around you or ahead of you on the list, and it's just the history of the Cleveland Browns and what they've done. It's pretty special, and there's a lot of luck that comes into staying healthy and being available, but that's one thing, anytime I have a chance, I want to be out there for my teammates and just give it a go. But it's a cool stat, and hopefully we can get a win in the 150th one.
Joel, when you think back to your first couple of starts and then kind of look at Zach, who's kind of going through it, what do you remember from your starts that you've tried to impart on him as he's tried to go through this transition?
I talked to him about it being a long season. The NFL is such a week-to-week business, you know what I mean? And to be fair to him, we went into a couple of road environments for him against D tackles that are top 10 D tackles in the NFL. And so that's a huge challenge. And I told him, hey, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. We have to keep battling. We have to keep trusting your technique. You never want to go into it and be like, man, this wasn't working, the one time you did it. You have to use your hands, you have to trust your technique, you have to stay focused. And to his credit, he's been, very coachable and trying to learn, and I think the future is bright for him. Like I said, it was very tough environments for him, tough opponents, and he's working, and he has the same attitude, and he's trying to get better, and he's trying to improve. I was very lucky to play between Joe and Alex my first, couple starts, and they just told me what to do, and I just played as hard as I could, and so that was easy for me. Not everybody's as lucky as that situation, but he is focused on improving, and like all of us, getting better each week.
That doesn't let up this week for him.
No, it does not. No, they have, Jalen Carter's a great player. Their D-line's, the strength. I feel like I said it every week. The D-line's been the strength of the defenses that we've been playing. So it'll be a big challenge, but he's locked in. He's focused. He's, like I said, trying to improve every day.
Do you guys feel like there are things that you can do to move the ball even against the pressure that you're going to face and the things that you guys have going at?
Yeah, I think we have a great game plan. I think we saw some stuff late in the game, with running the ball, with getting the ball in the hands, of the quarterback a little quicker, protecting better. But no, I think we have a good plan. I think we're gonna be ready to execute this week and be ready to go.
You guys have talked about owning your record, being 1-4. But how do you balance that of owning that 1-4 record, but not losing, the weeks to come?
To me, it's easy because it's a week-to-week business. We have to play the Eagles this week. We have to win the game. Truthfully, in my head, it doesn't. We are 1-4. That's what our record is. But it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm playing this game the same way regardless. So you go out there, you give it 100%. You try and win this game and, see what happens the next week.
As an offensive line, how do you think the offense has been, and how much change has been in the first 5 games of the season? Maybe because you're running more shotgun as opposed to like under center or wide zone.
Yeah, it's been a little bit different, to start the year of just more gun runs, more things like that. Truthfully, we haven't had like too many shots at it. Like we've ran the ball at a lower clip. I thought in the second half this week we started throwing some G scheme in there. We had some good runs. We had some traps and some whams that hit. So there was some couple different schemes, but I think we're getting more comfortable. And if we do call runs, like we have to execute them. So we trust ourselves to call them again.
Joel, how have you seen Jack kind of handle? It looked like he was so close to coming back. Then he has the hamstring, hasn't been able to get back. How have you seen him kind of handle that frustration a little bit?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you come back from such a, obviously Nick's injury was very public and very gruesome, but Jack had a pretty serious knee injury himself. So he's worked to come back and have been focused for us, and I think he was getting ready to go, and a hamstring went right before that. So he was frustrated for it, but I know he's been working, and he's been trying to be a coach for some of the younger guys when he's in the meeting room with us.
Joel, the run game struggles. Is that, you kind of mentioned that you guys haven't been able to do a ton of it to this point. Is that more so just, it's not execution-wise, maybe you guys aren't creating the holes and things that you want to, so it hasn't worked, or is it just that they're not calling as many run plays as usual?
I mean, it's a mix. Like, you watch the game, like early in the game, there were some calls where, we missed a run through back or they have a great blitz called into it. So that comes down to execution, but other times, sometimes with the run game, you just got to 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards. It's kind of the way it works in the NFL. But we can always execute better, and we have to execute better.
Joe used to talk about how the losing would get to him year through year. How are you handling the 1-4 record just from an emotional standpoint?
Oh, it's incredibly frustrating. You want to win games. That's why you play the game. That's why I play the game. I'm in year 11. Like, I've done everything I need to do in my career. I just want to win, and so it's incredibly frustrating. But that's why I'm here every day, because we're going to work and we're going to try and do everything possible to win these games. But if you come to work for any other reason, like that's it's great. Like, we get paid a ton of money, we get all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like how do you find a way to win?
Hey Joel, I think it was during the broadcast of the Raiders game, it was mentioned that you were sharing notes, I think specifically with Zach, and I think you referenced it afterward too.
Yeah.
So what's all going into that? Is that a new thing, and what are you trying to pass along?
Yeah, I think everybody's a little different, but like Wyatt has his own way of playing and his own style, and he's played a lot of football. But with Zach, I was just like, hey, this is what my key points as a guard in this game, like what I'm focused on, and I just try and write that out and share it with him. It was tough because he has kind of a different, sometimes they switch sides and you play against the same guy, but he was kind of playing against a different guy that week. But I tried to watch his film and talk about his pass rush. And truthfully, there's 5 to 10 plays a game where it's like, this is a key reminder here, this is a key focus point. And that's just really what I tried to stress to him.
So are you keeping that up? Is that you hand him notes this week? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's more just like Saturday night or Friday we go over, the reminders, and he has some thoughts too. But truthfully, I just make a page at the end of the week, and it's like guard notes for the week, and I try and write them out and get it so we're on the same page.
Anybody do that for you?
Well, like I said, great mentorship. I remember Joe doing it with Mitch. The tackles would kind of have a meeting before the game about some of the big key reminders, and that kind of pushed the idea to me.
Did you have to lean on Greco?
Yeah, Greco was great. I sat next to him in meetings, and he made sure I was doing the right thing.
Do they flip Carter? I mean,
I would say 95% he's on the right side.
So
but on third downs, like pass rush, they'll run some giant fronts and things where he's on the left side, but most of the time he is on the right guard.
So going back to the 150 games, are you a reflective person? Do you ever take time to look back on your career, or is that for later?
Mostly for later. I mean, every once in a while in the off season or a big milestone comes up, you think about how special it is. But for me, I'm just trying to win this week.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.
All right, there you go. Joel Bitonio from the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We'll do the Fantasy Minute coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, here are my friends at Jim Beam. What do sports and Jim Beam have in common? Both are better when enjoyed with others. So grab a bottle, gather your friends, enjoy the game, because with Jim Beam, you come as fans and leave as family. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2024, James B. Beam Distilling Company, Claremont, Kentucky. Drink smart. We do have a mailbag coming up, so get your questions to Gibbe at Browns_Daily, and we will answer those coming up here in the next segment. Between now and then, the Fantasy Minute, presented by Scaleco, proud capital investment partner of your Cleveland Browns. Fantasy time, Dr. Z.
Oh, baby. Let's duet. This is a tough week. Some big fantasy people on buys this week. That always adds to the challenge of putting your lineup together when you've got some of the teams that you've been counting on, preeminent teams, not available to you in this week. So we've got 4 teams on bye, so let's start at the quarterback position. What are you looking for? I'll tell you what. I'm a little down on C.J. Stroud this week because I just think Nico Collins has been so important to what they've done. He will be unavailable
Yep.
So I'm not as optimistic about him. Geno Smith tonight, I like. Brock Purdy tonight, I like. Kirk Cousins is getting the point now coming off that 500-yard game where, yes, he is what you thought he was. You play him. And then here's one that I didn't think I would say, but if you need a quarterback to pick up and play this week, Danny Dimes. Right? I mean,
they've been getting shredded.
Bengals have been getting
pass
shredded.
Defense gets shredded.
He's been playing kind of okay. Better than that, really. He's got 3 out of his last 4 games with multiple passing touchdowns and no turnovers. So Danny Dimes, I think, is somebody that you got to consider getting into your lineups there this week. Running backs this week. I'm trying to remember, who are the 4 teams on a bye this week? It was Detroit last week, right?
Kansas City. Is Tennessee on a bye?
No, Tennessee was on a bye.
Tennessee plays Indy. Hold on, I'll get it for you. I'm pulling it up right here.
Kansas City, it's 4 different divisions.
It's Kansas City, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings.
Dolphins, so
Waddle,
Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Devin
Jefferson.
A.
A lot of playmakers.
Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Addison. So Sam Darnold, who had been playing well, by the way. So those are the quarterbacks. All right, running backs this week. Stay with Cincinnati. Chase Brown, guy's been a top 10 PPR running back 2 weeks in a row. I like that. I think he keeps it going. Tank Bigsby is somebody I think you can get into your lineups as well. Zach Moss is banged up. Bigsby is kind of starting to usurp what's going on with Etienne down there, so he's somebody that I like. Rico Dowdle showed some life last week, 20 carries. That's good for in Dallas. And then keep an eye on Ramondre Stevenson's health. I'm not sure if he was able to practice today. Did not yesterday. If he does not, Antonio Gibson takes on some good value for you at the running back position. And then Ogunbowale.
All right.
In Houston, if Mixon is out again, he's the guy in a PPR league that I would like. He's been around for forever, that guy. Wide receivers. You know the usual suspects. Obviously, bump Stephon Diggs up with the injury. I like that. Deontay Johnson continues to play well. Darnell Mooney has moved to the point where I think he's a play every single week. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a play every single week. You look at Wan'Dale Robinson. If no neighbors, Darius Slayton, I think, becomes a good play along with Wan'Dale Robinson in a PPR league. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba tonight as well. So those are some of the receivers. And then tight ends for you before we get to the defenses real quick. But tight ends for you this week. Evan Ingram should be back. If somebody cut him, get him. I mentioned Tucker Kraft to you guys already, so you should have picked him up off your waiver wires. Cole Kmet has started to play at a nice level as well recently for the Chicago Bears. And then defense, this is a week where there are some matchups you certainly can exploit. I like, in this one, you got to like the Bucs against the New Orleans Saints with Spencer Rattler, right? Have to. That's a good start. Houston against New England, I think, is a great play as well this week. So those are a couple that I would be looking to go with this week.
There you go.
And there you go. There it is.
There it is, kids. We'll do the mailbag coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Recycling Resource Center helps feed the circular economy by supplying Ohio companies and others in the Midwest with the material they need to put what you place in your bins to good use. To learn more about the facility and how you can recycle more, visit rumpke.com today. Time for the mailbag. It's presented by the Cross Country Mortgage Company, the official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns when it comes to financing. They're always going to get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029. Hello, Gibby.
Yeah. Hi, boys. Yeah. Tweet your questions to us now at Browns_daily. For no reason at all, Uncle Bo, who's the best college quarterback that's draft eligible? From David Laurie.
I think most people think it's Shedeur Sanders. He's probably most similar in play to Caleb Williams, I would say. I don't think he's as good as Caleb Williams, but I think his play is that way. He plays out of structure a lot. Can throw on the run, has a pretty good arm. His decision-making is certainly questionable, but I don't know how much of that is that usually they're behind or they're having to score almost on every possession. The guy I really like, we just haven't seen enough of it. I think Quinn Ewers has the best arm of them, and he throws from any platform he wants. But he would have to go to a spot where there is some, I think, really good coaching. Watch out for Jalen Milroe. He's come on this year with Kalen DeBoer, who's now the coach at Alabama. His pass game has gone to another level this year. So he could be one of those guys who really blooms here as the season goes along. Who am I missing? Am I missing anyone? I don't like Carson Beck. People liked him in the beginning, and like he was like the guy in the beginning. I don't love him I just don't love his game as much, but he may end up going up there pretty high too. But those are some of the guys to pay attention to.
Gotcha. Browns backers, North Jersey. Random question. What was the last book you read?
The one you gave me. I loved it. The Jim Harrison.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That was gulping life.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. I couldn't put that down. I love that guy. Montana guy, wrote Legends of the Fall.
Yeah, guys.
Lived to the fullest extent.
Quite a full extent.
Yeah. I feel like he lived like 70 great summers or whatever it was.
He had a really big lunch.
Really loved it. Yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah, that was great. That was the last one I read. I read that on vacation.
Segura?
Rex Chapman's autobiography.
How was that?
Good. Intense.
Yeah.
He went through some things.
A lot going on for him.
But awesome, because I love Rex. Yeah, that's the last book I read. It was very good, actually. And funny.
Yeah, that too.
It definitely had some levity to it.
I'm currently reading a book called Rainmaker it's Hughes Norton.
Okay.
He was he was hired by IMG like at the height of their golf with like Arnold Palmer and Nicklaus and all them, but then he was Tiger Woods' first agent.
Yep. Yep.
We're getting to that part now.
Yeah.
Which is quite entertaining.
Quite interesting,
might imagine.
I bet.
So, up next, Happy Browns fan. Who was someone famous you met that you were concerned would be a real crud, but turned out to be really nice? Usually it's the opposite.
I don't know that anybody I was ever concerned would be a real crud. I'd probably say it's gone the other way a few times for sure, where you're more like excited and then they're kind of a crud.
Yeah, that's more what you
I would say the
notice.
person that I was most intimidated to meet and spend time with was Demi Moore. And she couldn't have been more pleasant.
She was lovely. Yeah, I don't really have any. He's saying ones that are good that ended bad.
No,
somebody that you were concerned were going to be a crud, but ended up
being
not
nice.
I don't know if I have. It's usually the other way.
Yeah, I guess I don't ever go into any meeting with anybody thinking they're going to be a crud.
Yeah,
and then they end up being usually the other way I think would be it. It seems like most people that I've come in contact with through this, and usually it's because of this job or whatever, have been really cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. I haven't seen anybody who's been a total crud.
No. Scott Hall was slightly discourteous when I met him, which was very sad.
I think that was probably one though where you anticipated him being that, right? Because the persona probably matched.
No, because I was meeting him in like a very like safe space because it was at like the WrestleMania after party.
Yeah,
not so much to me, but certainly to my buddy, the Big Daddy, he was slightly discourteous, which was John Cena was more than slightly discourteous to the Big Daddy as well, which is
no time for that.
No, strange.
Yeah. My favorite famous person that we ever met was Mr. Dog.
Oh,
I mean, that was the most.
The bus pulls up right.
The fact that he like pulled up, walked in here, did the show, like just walked in, did the show live.
Said hi to Landry.
I think we got a text that said like, Snoop's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, he is. We didn't even know he's here.
Yeah.
And then he came up, sat down, it was an awesome interview. He was totally engaged. He loved it. It was awesome.
I would say Stone Cold was also.
Stone Cold was like that too. He
incredible.
was great. He was a little bit more intense. Like Mr. Dog was exactly how you'd want Mr. Dog to be.
Stone Cold, you were like, if I asked the wrong question, am I going
How cool was Al Michaels when he was in here with us?
Yeah.
He was so cool when he was in here. So gracious with his time. So, yeah. No, most of them have been good. I'll tell you a guy who was – everybody always said, and everything I've seen after has been that he was a jerk, was Bo Jackson. But Bo Jackson was a hero of mine as a kid. And when I met him and interviewed him, he was as kind as can be. But I've heard a bunch of stuff afterwards that he's not, that he's kind of a jerk and all of that. But I did not have that experience.
Just be nice.
Kyle
Just
Ryan
easier.
tweets at the show, you're stranded on a desert island. You get 5 shows to choose that you can watch on repeat. What are they?
For the rest of my life?
Well, I'm assuming you're stranded on the island.
All right, see a couple of things here. You need big catalogs. So Curb is a lock.
Curb's a lock.
So that, because you got 20 years of Curbs, I mean, that's a ton of episodes to choose from and a lot of entertainment. So you could always just restart that at any point. So that jumps out to me for sure as one of my comedies. I would probably want a second comedy.
Yep.
So is the second comedy Seinfeld?
Big catalog.
Huge catalog.
I think probably.
It's probably Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I probably would go Seinfeld would be my other comedy. Like I love Eastbound and Down, but it's so small that you'd
right.
I mean the other
you
one
need a big catalog.
That
The
I
Office
feel
is
like
another one.
I still could watch to this day, and there are a million episodes. Are The Simpsons?
So I've never seen an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, this is good.
Never.
South Park would be a good
That's a
one.
fine.
South Park's got a great catalog.
That's what I mean. Like
South
something
Park
like
could be
that.
in
That just like
next-
you feel like
yeah,
they've been going forever.
years. They have.
You
been.
need to have a huge. So those jumped out to me. From a drama, I would go Sopranos because I feel like I could jump into that, and I just watched that doc, so I almost now feel the urge to re-jump back into that.
Game of Thrones obviously would still be in the mix for me, even though it didn't end well. I would know that.
You would stop. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's awesome. The show's incredible.
Yeah.
I think too. I would probably have either a Bear Grylls show or like a Naked and Afraid,
Yeah, that
just
too,
like
like,
something where I can
could I
pick
pick something up?
some tips up as well, like a little educational.
Or would it be like a little too close?
How do I survive on this deserted
little
island?
too close to comfort.
No, I think I wouldn't mind being able to.
Let's see what he's doing. Hey,
Yeah.
Bear, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I was all in on that until he did Montana, and he did it very near where I grew up and made it seem as if that there was a random bridge where he acted like he was in a stranded lake. Like none of it added up. Like I knew the area they paratrooped him into. There was no way that those three things all happened in that place. They're hundreds of miles away from each other. And I'm like, why would he do that? Like you could be stranded in Montana so easily.
Yeah.
Why would you manufacture these
Up in a
scenes
mountain.
of
Yeah.
nonsense? Like he hopped on a train at one point. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what would be a fun one maybe? Would be Bourdain. One of
Bourdain,
those.
yep.
Whether the No Reservations or the whatever the other one was. Because then, those would kind of felt like a tapestry of various places.
Yeah.
And there's a huge catalog of those. That might be one.
I like that.
Feel like you're living a little bit.
Nick Gibson tweets at the show, Bo, some more college football action.
Mm-hmm.
Was listening to you the other day, wondering if OSU doesn't throw the ball to the middle of the field because of play calling, or they don't trust Howard yet, or they're just saving it for big-time games.
No, it's pandemic for them, epidemic for them. They don't. It's their style of offense. They don't. They didn't last year. I charted them last year with Kyle McCord, and they just would not throw the ball over the middle of the field, intermediate or deep. They don't. I think it's a real flaw in their attack. I don't remember it that way with CJ, so it could also be the level of quarterbacks they have. When they had Haskins and Fields and CJ, they would use the whole field. But last year they didn't do it with Kyle, and this year so far they haven't done it with Will. Every once in a while you get a slant on an RPO from him, but for the most part everything is outside. And they just kind of give up the middle of the field. It's compared to how Texas plays offense, it's jarring.
Up next, Tommy Kleko. What food do you love that others may find odd?
What was that?
What food
do you love that other people may find odd?
Love's a strong
too
word,
strong because
I'll eat escargot, which I think some people would find odd.
Find
some
that
people
odd.
find eating oysters odd. I do like oysters.
I like oysters just fine. I don't think there's anything that I love that people would find odd. I can't think of anything like that. I think sometimes I'll make like a bloody beer and people don't understand that because that's very much a regional thing from where I grew up. That was very much a part of tailgating and all of it was bloody beers, red beers, that type of thing. I can't think of anything though that I love that other people would find odd.
Ken?
Nothing I can think of.
Outside of sports, what topic could you do a 20-minute presentation on without prep?
A great many things.
Professional wrestling.
You could do that in your sleep.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, a lot of the shows that I've watched you could do. There's a lot of
programs.
things. There's
flying
a lot.
in an F-18 Super Hornet.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of things you could.
They're great. Golf. Well, golf, I guess, is sport.
Here's the thing about
leisure golf.
Here's the thing
Video
about
games.
this program that we're doing and this exercise that
Wine,
we're doing right now.
Steak.
Whiskey. You've got to be pretty versatile.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's 5 hours a day. So like,
well, you're a man of great versatility.
You can't like only be able to talk about football if you're going to do that. Like you got to be able to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Movies.
So, one last question here
early
on this
90s
Mailbag
West Coast rap.
Thursday. Either of you watch guys. What's on the wrist? What's in the collection?
It's unseemly to discuss.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not a watch guy.
I have a Fitbit on.
I'm not.
That's where I'm at.
I like them.
And currently,
I
I'd
like
like
'em a
to
little
just
bit.
put it
How
on
many
my dog
watches
and let
are
it
in
run
your
because
collection?
I don't get enough stuff.
I think I've only got 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people have like.
Some people would go nuts with it. I wear this one 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So, given to me by my lovely bride. So there you go. As the wedding present. So that was very kind. Very nice. We've got a score to do, kids. In addition to that, there's so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Join Z and Gerard tonight, 7 o'clock, Kevin Stefanski Show. Coach and Jordan Akins join the guys as they get you ready for the Browns and the Eagles. We've got Thursday Night Football, Gibbe.
We do, my friend. And it's a good one in the NFC West. The struggling Fighting Pedros on the road, grabbing a little Starbucks.
2 minutes.
Probably staying 45 minutes away from downtown Seattle. You know, the logistic beautifulness that is Seattle. The Seahawks playing host to the Niners. Bo Bishop, we'll start with you before we get to Pedro Jr.
I think on Thursday Night Football in the Seattle area,
what do you got?
Pacific Northwest. I mean, you just think about all of that. The Pike's Place Market. I wonder if we'll get a shot of that. We never see that when they go to Chicago.
Throw the
fish. Go ahead and show that. Show that to us again.
You're right. They're not going to show it in Chicago.
Well, they might. I don't know. You can't catch a fish in Lake Michigan. I just think Seattle is an overwhelming favorite. But I could also say, could the 49ers possibly lose again?
I mean, Seattle's in first place here, but 0-2 in the conference. The 49ers 0-3 in the conference.
You know, here's the thing about this one is you're right.
1 minute.
It's one of those that has so much variation in terms of what it could be, what the outcome could be.
Yeah.
However, I am undeterred in this one. And while I like Geno Smith and think that he is going to light up the scoreboard, by the way, what's the actual?
What's the actual what?
There it is. Yeah. I think this is a game that the 49ers win.
30.
Oh, yeah. I do.
I do, too.
I do.
I really
think it's a game the 49ers win.
I think it's a game the 49ers win. Guards got to win tonight, too.
Boy, do they.
Guards got to win tonight, too.
Let's go.
You can listen to it right
15.
here on 850 ESPN Cleveland at 6:08.
Spumoni.
They make a great spumoni in the Pacific Northwest, just outside of Chicago. Next Level's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.